All right, let me start with the Eastern Conference. Philly fan, let me start with you. I know everybody is looking for a direction to point the finger this morning. The pitchforks are out. The D-cell batteries are out. Everybody is looking for somebody to blame for that pathetic Sixers meltdown yesterday. And over the last few days, actually. The only good news is, Philly fan, there is no wrong answer. That's the good news. If you want to blame somebody, you're not wrong. No matter who you point the finger at, you're right. If you're looking for somebody to pin the Sixers' utter Game 7 meltdown on, you have so many different options, and they're all good ones. Plenty of blame to go around. It's just hard to say who exactly looks the worst this morning and who deserves the most blame, because everybody looks bad. Everybody deserves as much blame as possible. Where do I even start? Do I start with Doc Rivers? Is it on Joel? Is it on Larden? The answer, as always, is yes. The answer, as always, is all of the above. They all deserve every bit of the smoke, every bit of the heat that they're getting this morning. Yes, even my dude, Big Joe. In fact, especially my dude, Big Joe. 15 points on 5 of 18 shooting is not going to get it done in a legacy-defining Game 7. Getting completely and totally outclassed.
Totally trashed.
You can leave for a week and the Tourette's is always there. There is no cure for jungle Tourette's. I could leave for 30 years and I'll be doing that. Totally outclassed. In every way by Jason Tatum. Look, that's not going to get it done. That's not going to get it done in a legacy-defining Game 7. Getting completely locked up by 36-year-old Al Horford in a legacy-defining Game 7 is not going to cut it. Everybody expects better from Joel, and they should. He is the league MVP. Because everybody knows he's capable of much better. And everybody expects much better from the MVP. Nobody would say the dude looked anything like an MVP yesterday. And as bad as Joel was on the court, and he was terrible, he was somehow as bad, if not worse, at the podium after the game, which is hard to believe because generally nobody is better in that spot than Big Joe. Generally, you do not expect Joe to come out and brick the postgame too. No, your shots are not always going to fall, but that guy makes every shot he takes generally at the podium. Yet somehow he managed to go viral for this tone-deaf response to a question about James Harden's future in Philly. Check it. You two can't win alone? You two can't win alone. Big Joe, my dude, you two were terrible. You two were a combined minus 58. Your supporting cast was not the problem. You know what the problem was? You and Harden. You two were not going to win that game yesterday if your supporting cast was the 92 Dream Team. Look, I'm not sure if that's really what he meant to say or what the hell he actually meant to say. Unfortunately, that's what he did say. That's what came out of his mouth. Quote, I can't win alone. Me and James, we just can't win alone.
Can't win alone.
End of quote. I mean, unfortunately, I'm not sure Big Dude could have found a worse set of words to use after that performance. And honestly, I don't really care what the question was or what he thought he was saying in that response. A lot of people are trying to make the argument that it's out of context. It's out of context. He said what he said. I didn't cut that up. I didn't edit that. He just said, James and me can't win alone. No, but you damn near lost it alone. Minus 58, the two of you. And yet you're going to point to people around you? Make that make sense, big fella. I guarantee he's going to want that one back. And if he doesn't, he should. Problem is, there's no getting that back. And then there's more. This is something else, too. Not a great time to go all Troel, and I love Troel. I love Joel, and I love Troel even more, except in that spot. He went all Troel with it. Big Joe decided to do that after the game, too. And I admit, I laughed when I saw it. It's funny. It's really funny. It made me laugh. However, using that moment, an extremely pathetic moment, after an extremely pathetic showing, and another Philly catastrophe, using that moment to troll Giannis was probably not the smartest move either. Like, you could tell Troel was pretty happy with himself with that one. You could hear the smile in his voice when he said it. And I got to admit, I did laugh. I chuckled when I saw it, but my man, wrong place. I would never, ever say that Troelling is the wrong place at the wrong time, but that was the one time that you should not have gone Troel. If there ever was a wrong place and a wrong time to Troel, it was after that pathetic showing yesterday. At least trolling Giannis points out how ridiculous it would be to act like yesterday was not a failure for Philly. That's why that was such a bad take by Giannis. Imagine Joel trying to say, it's just part of the process. It's not a failure. It's just a step in the right direction. No, it's not. That absolutely was a failure. An all-time failure. One of the most embarrassing Game 7 losses, chased by one of the most tone-deaf press conferences ever. That game was tied at 55. It was tied at 55. So even more embarrassing when you consider what happened to Coach Bud after Giannis called the Bucs season a, quote, step to success. Once again, go find Coach Bud and ask him after he got axed whether or not he thought that getting fired was a step to success. Hey, Coach Bud, how do you feel about that? You just got broken off. You won a championship there. You'd won like 70% of your games. How do you feel? Fine. You know, it's just a step to success. Yeah, I don't know. Even Doc, who assumes he's coming back this next season, would not say that was a step to success. Oh, Doc.
Oh, Johnny boy in New York.
Oh, boy, Doc.
Oh, Johnny boy.
Anyway, look, I don't want to pin this all on Doc, but I've got to pin a good chunk of it on Doc, right? I'll give him this much. Nobody in the history of the association has been better at losing Game 7s than the good doctor. I mean, that's not even sarcastic. That's not even me turning a phrase. That's true. It's facts. Doc has now lost 10 Game 7s. 10! Not 1, not 2,
Not 3.
not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 9, 10. 10 Game 7s. And he's lost his last 5 in a row. Seriously, how is that even possible? How the hell is that even possible? How is anybody even allowed to stick around long enough to lose 10 Game 7s and 5 in a row? And it's somehow even worse than that because dude doesn't just lose Game 7s, he loses them in the most spectacular fashion, almost always after leading the series. Check this. That was the 7th time Doc has had a 3-2 lead or better in a playoff series and somehow wound up losing that series. And, of course, often against lower seeds and teams that are less talented than the one he's coaching. Essentially, Doc has one of the worst resumes of all time when it matters most. Man, it's a damn good thing he's got that ring. The only player who can even compete with him in that category is, let's move on to the next one, the Beard, a.k.a. one of the 2 superstars who completely no-showed for Doc yesterday. And I don't just mean during the game. Harden definitely no-showed the game, but he also had this answer when asked if he wants to see his head coach back next season. Our relationship is okay. Wow, Beard, ringing endorsement. I mean, even Joel said Doc's done a great job, even though Doc has not done a great job. They're out early again. You know the amazing thing, sidebar quickly on Beard, like the guy went into the tank. He had 2 great games, and he had some absolutely horrible games where he went invisible, where they had to have the guy. But the thing is, they need to keep him. He's a free agent to be. If they let him go, then what? What, are you going to argue to me that they're better without Larden, even at this juncture of his career? What are they going to replace him with? So in the meantime, you've got Doc, and Doc's got time left on his contract. So you go to one of the stars you have to have, and that star says, yeah, it's all right. Our relationship's okay. So him trying to deflect any blame is also incredibly fat, rich.
Fat?
Considering the near zero he contributed during, no, let me check that. The actual zero that he contributed during the most important minutes in that series. And I mean that, literally zero. The dude, check these numbers. He did not score in the fourth quarter of games 5, 6, or 7. Generally, games 5, 6, and 7 are pretty critical. Generally, the fourth quarter of games 5, 6, or 7 are pretty critical. Generally, it's the difference between winning and losing. He didn't just go goose egg in crunch time yesterday. He didn't do a damn thing in crunch time in the entire back end of that series. He did not score in the fourth quarter of games 5 through 7 and only put up 6 shots in those 3 quarters combined, which is even worse than disgraceful. I mean, that is some Ben Simmons bullcrap. Simmons gets his own take, by the way. How about this dude? I'll just touch on it briefly right now, but how about this dude? Pretty goofy. And goofy is putting it very kindly. Yeah, I want to stay on the air. I've been off for a week. I don't want to come right off the air after getting back after one segment. Pretty goofy to see Simmons take the chance to gloat on Instagram by posting a pic, watching the blowout from his crib. Yo, Ben, my guy, you're the only person in the world who can't talk right now. You're watching from home for a reason. We saw you in one of these Game 7s. You were just as afraid to shoot the ball as the Beard, and it ended just as badly for the Sixers. In fact, Ben, you are easily one of the single worst things that ever happened to the Sixers franchise. I could even argue you're one of the worst things ever to happen to that town, to that city, to Philadelphia sports. You know, you're right up there with yesterday. Ben, you're right up there with getting blown out by Boston in Game 7 after holding a 3-2 series lead. So, my man, instead of sitting there in your crib with a glass of wine and a bottle of water and screenshotting them getting blown out, you actually deserve some of the blame for that, too. Since there is no Beard in Philly without you essentially quitting on the Sixers. So, like I said at the very top, plenty of blame to go around here. And really no wrong answers. What are you going to tell me? Doc isn't to blame? Joel's not to blame? James Harden's not to blame? Ben Simmons isn't to blame? Who's not to blame here? Because that was an absolutely enormous game. That was a legacy game for everybody mentioned. For Joel, for Harden, for Doc, for Philly, for the entire process. Let's face it, as great as they have been in the past, these are not exactly known as dudes who have come up huge on the big stage, right? If anything, it's the opposite. I know, Philly fan, that you are used to catastrophe and disaster, although you have had some success in recent years. I know the things that hurt more than what feels amazing feels great. I know this. But I know you're used to catastrophe and disaster, but you got to admit, this ranks right up there with some of the worst. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the bell to be the first to know when we do upload a new video.